Hello and welcome to Comparative VPN YouTube channel. This video will be a comprehensive NordVPN review that will highlight all of its pros and cons and tell you whether or not you should buy it. Without further ado, let's move on and get our NordVPN review going. As always, the first thing we talk about is the app compatibility. NordVPN is, simply put, one of the best VPNs on the market. It comes with more than 5,000 servers in almost 60 countries, as well as 6 simultaneous connections. Speaking of which, we'll first check NordVPN's app compatibility. As said, being a top name in the game, NordVPN has a lot to prove, especially when it comes to app compatibility. As we can see on the screen, the provider supports a plethora of platforms, some of which are Windows, Android, macOS, Android TV, Linux, Chrome, and Firefox. Recently, we reviewed ExpressVPN and mentioned that it has an overwhelming app compatibility. Is this the case with NordVPN? Well, you could say so. After all, NordVPN also supports routers which allow you to protect more internet-capable devices. For example, you can install NordVPN on your router and then connect your internet device to router and protect it instantly. Furthermore, NordVPN supports browser extensions such as those for Chrome and Firefox, but unlike ExpressVPN, which is its main competitor, NordVPN offers a free proxy. Basically, this free proxy isn't a full-fledged VPN, so when you're using NordVPN on your browser, you're using just a proxy service. This proxy will protect only your traffic inside the browser and not outside the browser as ExpressVPN would do. But since almost all VPN providers do the same, that's really not a downside. Moving on with our NordVPN review, we need to check out its app. As you can see, NordVPN's app is really simple and looks very good. To be honest, it looks better than most VPNs on the market. But that's just our opinion, and it can be different than yours. Nevertheless, let's see how the app functions. So, on the left, we have a server list with all the servers and countries that NordVPN supports. As said, there are more than 5,000 of them in about 60 countries. So what if we want to connect to a random VPN server, for example? We can click on this option called Quick Connect. Doing so, NordVPN will connect you to the fastest server based on your location. Now, what if we want to connect to a particular server? Well, for example, we'll click on Australia. You can just double click on it, and in a matter of a second or two, NordVPN establishes a connection. You might have noticed that NordVPN establishes a connection pretty quickly, and quite frankly, much faster than pretty much any other VPN. Why is that, you might ask? Well, this is because NordVPN, by default, uses a new protocol called NordLynx. NordVPN supports connections to the city-level servers. So for example, let's take Australia once again. We click on these 3 horizontal dots here, and as you can see, NordVPN lets you choose a region. We click here and then we choose a city. For example, we want to connect to Sydney. We click Sydney and click connect. In a matter of seconds or two, as said, NordVPN establishes a connection. Now, what about other functionalities and settings? Well, we can see some of them even here. For example, dedicated P2P servers, which are used for torrenting, or if you want to use Tor browser, for example, for browsing the deep web, which is what most people actually do, you can use this option, and boom, NordVPN establishes a connection. Now, to see even more settings, we click on this gear icon here, and NordVPN displays its settings in a simple manner. For example, if we want to enable a kill switch, we click here, and we can use the internet kill switch or app kill switch. So basically, NordVPN offers a kill switch on 2 levels. You can control your internet or you can control your app. Moving on, if we click on advanced, we can set a custom DNS server address, use obfuscated servers, and tweak our invisibility on LAN. Then we have auto connect features, which let you establish a VPN connection once you connect to the Wi-Fi network or perhaps once you launch the app. Then in the general tab, we can see a few options here, for example to launch NordVPN at startup or launch the app minimized. Another good feature is called CyberSec, and as you can see, it's sort of an ad blocker which also blocks malware and other unwanted software. by default it's turned on, and we really do recommend you turn it on because functions more or less properly. A while ago we mentioned obfuscated servers located here. If you enable them, NordVPN will let you connect to any of these servers for bypassing censorship. As their name implies, these servers use a special obfuscation technology which lets you hide your IP address and mask your online identity to bypass so-called deep packet inspection or DPI, which often occurs in high censorship countries. For example, obfuscated servers are great for use in China, Russia, Turkey, Iraq, Iran, and similar countries. And what's better, NordVPN's obfuscated servers really work, as we had the chance to see in our test. In the previous part of our NordVPN review, we examined its app compatibility and shown you the app. Now, after that, it's time to test NordVPN speeds. Many users complain that NordVPN is slow or not up to par. Therefore, NordVPN is really not the best choice for speeds, at least according to many users. So, to begin our speed test, we first need to check our native internet speed, which is shown on the screen. Then, to test out NordVPN properly, we'll first use a server close to us, which is in Europe, and then we'll use a distant server such as one from the USA. We'll use a German server as a first option, and then, once we do so, we'll transfer to the USA server and see how good the speeds actually are. So, let's get back in the app and connect to the German server first. With the German server in place, we just need to click on Go to initiate our speed test. Now that the speed test is finished, we can see that NordVPN actually has pretty decent speeds. However, bear in mind that this is a European server, so basically it's very close to us, and in this scenario NordVPN is expected to work flawlessly. So, as usual, back to the app, we scroll down to find the USA, double click on it, and NordVPN will automatically connect us to the fastest USA server. Now, back to the speed test website, where we just need to click on Go to initiate the speed test. With the results finally in place, we must admit that NordVPN is a bit slower than we expected. Sure, its speeds aren't catastrophic, however, we must notice that it's still a bit slower than ExpressVPN. The download speed saw a 20% reduction, give or take, while our upload speed wasn't as much affected. However, the ping was the most affected, and from a single digit number, it jumped to over 100 milliseconds. So, to conclude this section, do we think that NordVPN is the fastest VPN out there? Well, most likely not. However, for streaming or downloading torrents, it will be just fine. Speaking of streaming, we know that many users use NordVPN or any other VPN for this purpose. Netflix, HBO Go, Hulu, Amazon Prime Video, and even Disney Plus are only some of the websites that geo-restrict their content. What this means is that particular movie and TV shows are geo-restricted to particular countries. For example, you can watch one show in the USA, but once you venture abroad, you can't watch it anymore. Well, that's how Netflix functions, as it has many catalogs catered to each country. As some of you know, Netflix US is the most popular streaming platform, and as a matter of fact, it has the most movies and TV shows. So therefore, given our location in France, it'll be interesting to see if NordVPN can actually unblock Netflix and let us watch the US version, which is the best one. So, what we're going to do now is get back to the NordVPN's app, connect to the USA server once again, and once we do so, we'll get back to Netflix, refresh the page, and once we do so, we'll see that NordVPN actually unblocks Netflix US. So, if we want to watch any of the movies or TV shows, we just need to click on play, and NordVPN will initiate the stream in a matter of seconds. Now, what about BBC iPlayer? Well, BBC iPlayer is a very popular streaming platform in the UK, and on top of that, it's free. So basically, if you're from the UK or if you use a VPN, you can make an account and watch any of the shows and movies for free. To do so, we're going to connect to the UK server, which we already did in the app. Now minimize the app, and as we can see, we already booted up the website and we want to watch this film. How to do this? Well, we click on the play button here and once again click here. After doing so, we can see that BBC Player actually works. The same can also be said about ABC, which is an American streaming platform. Now, if we get back to the app, connect to the US server, and then visit ABC, we can see that website works. Now, does the streaming works? Well, let's click on play and see. Yes, it definitely works. And one more thing to notice is that NordVPN shows decent streaming performance. For example, if we rewind the video, it loads immediately. Then, if we fast forward to here, for example, the video immediately loads. What this means is that NordVPN is a decent provider for streaming. Moving on with our NordVPN review, we need to talk about security, because what actually is a VPN without security, right? Well, that's right. So, what does NordVPN offer in terms of security? For the start, it has military-grade encryption, IPv6 and DNS leak protection, an automatic kill switch, double VPN, obfuscated servers, and many features. To explain, military-grade encryption is used by the banks and military to preserve sensitive data. So, what this means is that if you buy NordVPN, you'll actually be able to use this feature. Then, IP and DNS leak protection is a great feature for preserving your online identity by preventing your IP and DNS addresses from leaking. Another great feature is called double VPN, and honestly, NordVPN is one of the rare providers to offer this feature. What this actually means is that NordVPN will connect you to two VPN servers simultaneously, which will provide you double the protection. The downside to this is that you can't choose two servers you want. Instead, NordVPN already has a few presets which you just need to choose from the app and connect. But on the other hand, as we said, you get double the encryption, and as such, your security is 2 times stronger. Before we move on to our IP and DNS leak test, we first need to talk about NordVPN's zero-log policy. NordVPN's zero-log policy is a verified one, and as such, NordVPN is really a trustworthy provider. However, being a comprehensive in-depth review, we need to see if NordVPN actually logs and what data is included. So if we scroll down, we can see that NordVPN hardly logs anything. It doesn't log connection date and duration, amount of data you transferred, VPN servers used, incoming and outgoing IP addresses. Moreover, you'll be glad to know that NordVPN doesn't log which websites you used, which software you downloaded, your clicks, or any other compromising info. Now, we mentioned an external audit, and if we scroll down, we can see that the audit was performed by no other than PricewaterhouseCoopers. This company also audited ExpressVPN's privacy policy, and really, this is the most relevant company in this regard. With this audit, we really don't need to stick too much to NordVPN's privacy policy, as it's really trustworthy, and you can be sure that NordVPN will keep your privacy intact. Even better, NordVPN is based in Panama, which is really a great jurisdiction since it's not under government surveillance or under any of the 5, 9 or 14 eyes alliances. Now you remember that we promised IP and DNS leak test, do you? Well, if so, we need to do it, but we'll use the US server from the previous part of the review. So, when connected to the US server, we visit this ipleak.net website, and we can see that NordVPN really doesn't leak IP address. So, if you remember, we said that we're located in France. And if we look at this screen, we don't see a French DNS address anywhere. This means that NordVPN completely obfuscated our IP address and is letting us browse the web privately. One more site is here, and it's called dnsleaktest.com, where we test for DNS leaks. And as expected, NordVPN performs flawlessly since the website shows us another IP address located in the US. In other words, NordVPN is really good when it comes to security, but also privacy thanks to its audited privacy policy. Now, if you want to download torrents with NordVPN, that is entirely possible thanks to NordVPN's P2P friendly nature. As mentioned earlier, NordVPN even offers dedicated P2P servers which are used for torrenting. And if you by accident connect to a server that is not P2P friendly, NordVPN is really smart and will automatically redirect you to a P2P server which will allow you to download torrents safely. Needless to say, in this regard, NordVPN is one of the best choices given its solid performance and speeds as well as network stability, not to mention its privacy and security features which greatly influence your torrenting experience. As mentioned earlier in the review, NordVPN is a decent choice for those looking to bypass censorship. Namely, their obfuscated servers are really great and they work in countries such as China, Russia, Turkey, or any other censored country. NordVPN is, in fact, one of the rare providers that works in China, along with Surfshark and ExpressVPN. So, if you're planning your trip to China, we suggest buying NordVPN before you initiate your travel to make sure you can actually access the website. Because, as some of you know, China already blocked dozens of VPN websites, so when you arrive to the country, you won't be able to buy a VPN. Next, we need to talk about the servers that NordVPN offers. As mentioned at the start, NordVPN offers more than 5,000 servers in almost 60 countries around the world. When compared to ExpressVPN or CyberGhost, for example, NordVPN offers fewer countries, however, its server count is more than impressive. There are 4 continents that NordVPN covers, and if we unwrap these menus, we can see that Americas, for example, isn't really populated with servers. But, on the other hand, if we click on Europe, we can see that NordVPN servers are mainly stationed on this continent. So there are servers in Germany, France, Sweden, Poland, Norway, Slovakia, Bulgaria, and many other countries. Then, if we scroll down, we can see Asia Pacific, where NordVPN once again shows decent results, covering Australia, Hong Kong, Vietnam, Malaysia, Indonesia, Japan, Singapore, and other countries. Lastly, we have Africa, Middle East, and India, and quite frankly, these regions are often neglected by VPN providers. NordVPN follows pretty much the same trend, covering just 5 countries in total. But this isn't necessarily a downside because, as said, not many VPN providers cover this continent. Before we wrap up this analysis, we need to talk about 2 things. The first one is customer support, where NordVPN really shines. It offers live chat support, which you can open by just clicking on the live chat widget. And if you type a question, a customer support team member will immediately respond. If you're not in a hurry, you can click on Help and access NordVPN's special customer support page, where you can read more about frequently asked questions, learn more about VPN in general, or perhaps use an email support where you can get in touch with NordVPN's customer support team via email. Either way, NordVPN is fast to respond and its customer support team is one of the best on the market. The last thing we want to discuss here is pricing. Now, NordVPN isn't known as very expensive VPN, but that depends solely on where you're located. Namely, NordVPN includes VAT taxes, which can range depending on the country you're located. For example, some European countries don't have this tax, so the price will be the one you see on the screen. However, if you're located in the UK, France, or USA, for example, additional taxes may apply, which can make NordVPN a bit more expensive. Now, if we disregard this fact and look exactly at the prices on the screen, we can see that NordVPN actually isn't very expensive. Well, for sure, it's cheaper than ExpressVPN. For example, its 2-year plan is the best deal, and on top of that, you get 3 months free. Beware that prices on the VPN market can actually fluctuate and change, so if you're watching this NordVPN review 2 or 3 years after we published it, the price maybe won't be the same. But generally speaking, NordVPN is really affordable, but only if you go for long-term plans. As you can see, the 1-month plan is pretty expensive and it's on the level of ExpressVPN and even CyberGhost. On top of everything we said, NordVPN includes a 30-day money-back guarantee, which you can take advantage of if you don't like this VPN for any reason. If you still think that NordVPN is a solid choice for you, you can easily get this NordVPN deal by using the following link: comparative-vpn.fr/nord1, or perhaps just click on the link in the description below, which will take you directly to the website, so you can just buy it and enjoy your subscription. NordVPN is a really decent provider, offering tons of servers, decent performance, great security features, and intuitive interface. To wrap up the review, we also need to go over the downsides. Now, NordVPN, despite being one of the best VPNs on the market, isn't perfect, and as such, its downside may be a performance, which isn't the best around considering the price and the image of the VPN. As we saw, NordVPN definitely isn't the fastest and is overtaken by ExpressVPN. Then, we also need to mention the price, which is in its core really affordable, but depending on where you're located, the VAT taxes might influence the price, which can drastically or minimally, once again, depending on your location, increase the price. So, that was all for today's NordVPN review. We hope you liked it, and if you did, share the video with your friends, leave a subscribe, and of course, smash the like button under the video. See you in the next video. Bye!